So I had a great presentation that Maggie never saw, and I finished it at 10 p.m. last night. And then I went to Walmart for a visual, and I found the piñata aisle. So I changed my whole presentation just for you guys. But I think after a day of awesome talks and everything, candy is going to be good, yeah? So we'll have some lively. I also have a beautiful Vanna. He has just finished his presentation, so he's going to help. So I had a friend also tell me, I called a bunch of people to test my idea, which is, my talk is about moonshots. So this whole experience that you guys are going to witness is literally how I work at the office as well, which is why people are terrified by me. But I called a few friends, tested the theory, and they were like, have you ever broken a piñata? And I think I probably did as a kid, but not as an adult. So she was like, you probably shouldn't do that on stage for the first time. And I was like, but what is failure if you don't do it in front of a bunch of people? So that's why we have Rob. He's going to do it. OK, so what I decided to do was to talk about projects, but in the form of piñatas. So this is the traditional piñata, right? This is what you visually would imagine is a regular project. We'll call this guy Legacy, because he's adorable, and he's exactly what you'd expect as a piñata. Vanna, do you want to come up here and help me fill him? Let's fill him with Reese's, because we need a reliable go-to thing that we all expect. And the same thing, right?
Right here in the butt. I feel like I should be coming out.
So traditional projects. You guys are well familiar with this. Reliable guy, one standard candy. It's going to be great. Once it breaks. Are they squishy? They've been in my car.
No, that's good.
OK, good. All right.
Not like gummies.
Perfect. Who here is familiar with the project management office that is government? All right. This guy's going to be great. So then we've got this guy. We have shiny, flashy, fun, sexy innovation project. Very not reliable, but really cool. That's a Fed 100 right there.
Yep.
All about it. No offense to anybody that's won one. There are also a lot of great awards that are won with really standard projects that are done really well. There's nothing wrong with this guy at all. Or this guy. Or this guy, necessarily. So for this one, we've got Twixes. And the reason I liked these are because you guys know the Twix branding, the left and right. They think they're different, and they label themselves differently. But they're the same. I know. Don't tell. So they go into our shiny, flashy unicorn. Again, still a project, still worthwhile. Now, if I was going to do the professional visual that I was going to do this morning before I ran into the unicorn or the piñata aisle, I was going to talk about this one being all executive approval, excitement, no infrastructure, because it is just quick, shiny, flashy, but mostly executive overhead excitement. Squirrel. This guy is standard infrastructure, so if I was going to do a regular visual on this one, it was a jar that was full of sand, and then we'd put the exciting big rocks on top of it because they couldn't fit. That's called the FAR. That's called... I knew Rob would be a great Vanna for this one. But that's called everything we've always done is this guy. And then you want new stuff, and you'd put him on top. But again, piñatas were just really fun. Then you can't leave Walmart without that. So I had to create an entire story for this guy. This is your moonshot. He's definitely flashy. He's definitely as tall as me. That's why he had to leave mostly. But we've got a lot of stuff, and I'll help you, Rob, for this. So we have traditional stuff that went into our regular project. Those are going into our moonshot because we need legacy in our moonshot. Oh my God, did you just put one thing in there? You can do as many as you want. So we've got hard candies. This is also a presentation about neurodiversity, you guys, because, well, obviously. But we've got hard candies. We've got lifesavers, which is also a moonshot, is a lifesaver. What did you say?
Does anybody have a funnel?
Does anyone have a funnel? Yeah, we'll do this. Actually, I'm going to throw these out at you. Oh, that was actually pretty good. We'll have candy up here that y'all can just get as well. But the main message here, and we'll let Rob keep filling this up. But we've also got these as well. We have interesting tools. We have kazoos. We have koozies, or not koozies, koosh balls. Oh my God. Now I also want to call attention to these guys. In their previous presentation, they talked about collaboration. Thank you. And this is Agile, y'all. It's Agile about...
Don't mess it up, Rob.
No pressure.
It's faster the other way. Sorry. It was a good effort.
But you know what? You know what happens in a moonshot is when you're experimenting and you literally just saw him fail, and we're fine with that, right? Other ideas are welcome.
Part of this is like, but yeah, you're right.
Also, it's not that I'm ill-prepared for this. It's that I wanted you guys to experience me doing this live, because that's what we do for our job. So we sit there and we say, I'm not an expert in piñatas. We are certainly not experts in filling them. But you guys get the point. So part of my presentation promise was also to talk about my work with IRS and some of the moonshots that we worked there. And I want to liken it to this guy. We used this, we used that, and then we ended up with this. And I can tell you guys exactly how the digitalization, we called it the Secretary Scanning Initiative. Would you like more kazoos? They were really fun. Those are tools, resources, and different things that can't fit in here. They probably could, but for the sake of the story, they don't. For the Secretary Scanning Initiative, because I'm also texting you guys, I'm not going to leave without tacos. But I consider these as pilots. You take tiny little pilots, and they turn into big moonshots. They don't fit here. They don't fit there. But you have to experiment. We're literally experimenting in front of you on screen, or on stage, not on screen. But you practice, and you do pilots. You fail with the funnel, but eventually it is full. And eventually it breaks, and it's transformative. And the reason I want to use the word transformative is because you can't reverse after a transformation. When you think about a butterfly, for instance, after it changes from a cocoon, it's not going back in a cocoon. A lot of people misunderstand transformation in the sense, this is fun to watch, right? It's great sensory. But when you think about a butterfly that came out of a cocoon, it's not reversing. And the right kind of transformation, once he breaks this, it's not going back. So that was also a really key feature. And again, I found the outcome I wanted, which was piñatas on stage. And then I reverse engineered it into this talk. So I really wanted you guys to experience how I actually live my life and live the work. And I know my Vanna here does a lot of the same. So I'd love to talk actual business with you if you guys have questions about IRS. but I really wanted to give you guys an analogy in real time, and then also candy, because it's great. So, Bill, I'm going to make you ask a question. And I work together at Homeland Security, so I know I can pick on him safely.
We did.
And I can also experiment in this safe room because Sanjeev and team, I knew they'd be okay with this. I hoped.
They love it.
Do you love it? You good? Okay.
2 thumbs up from the boss. Yay. So my question is, obviously, a wonderful analogy. I loved it. It was super fun and not at all surprising, Molly. And so based on the moonshot that you did, what were some of your successes or failures at IRS with regard to that approach?
Great question. So the day our pilot project, who here has not heard of Pilot IRS?
I'll cop to that.
Okay, cool. So Pilot IRS was born from Harrison Smith, former deputy of procurement at IRS, and I worked for him, and we were the enterprise digitalization team. I served as his deputy. So, and you may stay up here, or you may take candy, or yeah, you could finish your job. There's a lot of lifesavers too.
Dump these bags in here.
Perfect. So Pilot IRS was born right before I got there, I think July 2021-ish, and I joined in December of 2021 as the entrepreneur in residence at IRS. And my role was to just follow that very tall man around long hallways all the time. But Pilot IRS was a small amount of funding, I think $7 million max for an experiment, essentially. And those pilots had already begun. They had just begun when I got there. The main point of our first few pilots was to prove that digitalization was not impossible. Obviously, we know it's not impossible. I know USCIS has experimented in this space or done it in production. Other agencies had proved it, and Harrison knew that. We all knew that. But at an agency that is born and bred from the basement and grows up, they don't necessarily know that until they experience it. So you have to see it in your own agency. You guys, I'm preaching to the choir on this. A lot of folks have to experience it in their own agency so they're not saying, well, USCIS is different. We're different. IRS is different. No, you're not. So Pilot IRS was born from that. Lots of bumping around. I don't know if we have any IRS folks in the room, but lots of bumping around, it's not the tech that's the problem. And I arrived a little bit late, but I'm sure somebody else said that, but tech is not the issue. And Bill will probably say that in his presentation
It has been stated.
Yeah, tech's not the problem. And it's not even necessarily the culture. It's not people not wanting to change. It's just people not having the experience and seeing it happen in their own space. So lots of bumping around, and eventually when a tiny thing works, and that's how you get to a moonshot. When one tiny little thing works, then everybody's like, oh, we're not going to jail. It actually worked. And I say that one because the first time I mentioned small business innovation research funds, there were a lot of people that told me I was going to jail for that. And I was like, no, you can Google that. It's like a thing. But once you show a little bit of progress, and you show a little bit more, and you show a little bit more, and then we suddenly ended up in the commissioner's office. And I think Harrison would be fine with me telling this story. But we ended up with Chuck Rettig. Chuck is an awesome guy if you don't know him, but we were sitting there, very nerve-wracking. Not a lot of people get to sit with the commissioner every other week or once a month like we were getting to do. But we were updating him on the pilots, and I remember the moment his eyes lit up. And I don't know if you guys saw the Washington Post article where paper was piled high in the cafeterias after COVID of all of our returns, sitting in the cafeterias because our employees couldn't go to work and process tax returns either. So miles of semi-trucks holding paper. That needed to be solved. Our pilots were not intended for that, but we sat there And Chuck said, could this work for the inventory problem? And I'm like, yes, it can. And that is mostly my job, is peer pressuring people to do things when they're very uncomfortable. But Harrison knew it too, but he is a pretty formal guy, if y'all haven't met Harrison. And I was like, say yes, say yes, say yes. At the other end, there's Deputy Commissioner Doug O'Donnell, and he goes, I think it might work. And we're watching them know exactly what we knew already, but we let them arrive at it. And then I kicked Harrison very fiercely under the table, and I was like, Harrison has a thing to say. And so that's how we became the Secretary Scanning Initiative. And months later, Janet Yellen, or Secretary Yellen, announced to the world that we were going to be scanning millions of forms. And I don't know the number today, but I know when I left IRS in February, it was over 1.3 million. And before we started, IRS had only scanned 3,500 forms in the history of all of IRS, which is over 100 years. So that's a moonshot.
Awesome. I can't clap. I have a microphone. I want to call for some clap.
It was very cool. But lessons learned, we pissed a lot of people off. There were a lot of people that wanted to go about it differently, and they were very angry that we went in there and said that. But when the moment is right, that's how magic happens. And you have to be brave to be disliked in certain moments. So, good question.
Back in 1988, and they were throwing tax returns in the dumpsters because they couldn't process them all.
Yep.
And I went to the IRS Service Center in Covington, Kentucky, and saw the old VAX clusters. Mm-hmm. And in the back room behind plastic sheeting was their first digital machine, and they were scanning the things on 12-inch CDs.
Wow.
But my experience was that that there was this was granted a lifetime and a half ago, really just cultural issues of people unwilling to think beyond, which is, well, we've done it this way for 1 million years. Why? Mm-hmm. We've been doing taxes since 1912. Why should we start doing them electronically now?
Yep. So my logic, because everybody there right now wants to innovate. Everybody wants to modernize, and they're all on board with the concept. And what my messaging always was is IRS is exceptional at getting shit done. Like, we can't debate that. We've all gotten our tax returns, given, we have to put the exact cents into the machine to be able to understand when our return is coming, which still tortures me. But process is not a problem at IRS. So it is just, and I don't even like the phrase upskilling. I think it's patronizing. I think just teaching a new skill or just giving them a new tool, the process is still the same. It's a different technology, but the act of human movement through a process is something that they're exceptional at. They're exceptional at scaling training. They're exceptional at having people who feel very committed to getting tax returns done. That's the basis that you need to get it done. So it is just putting the right tools in their hands. Not everybody has to be in love with AI in order for it to be used. And that's part of the problem right now with innovation, I think, is selling the concept of AI is irrelevant. Selling the thing of, look, taxpayers, like my mom last year applied or did her taxes for the first time as a widow. That's a weird process for a Texas woman who hasn't done them, right? And there are startup founders that, and I've done that myself, it's terrifying to do your taxes sometimes when you're not emotionally sure how it's going to turn out. And so when you sell how it's going to benefit each unique taxpayer with this new technology, who cares what technology it is? And that is one of the biggest messages. We don't have to sell them on how they're going to do it. We just have to say, you're still going to be doing the great thing that you have loved to do. But it is an interesting thing. The culture is, and my only other experience inside, I have 5 minutes, the only other experience inside is at Homeland Security, which is one of the newest agencies, aside from Space Force. Every agency within it has been there for a long time, but the blob of it is new. So we didn't experience that kind of cultural gunk necessarily. There's still internally in many of the components. But what IRS has is a lifelong of people. Like I think the average employee is 30-year tenure. Like that's an average. We had many people that were over 30 years service. So, I mean, our CIO, 42 years service before she left. That's insane. And so at that point, there's nothing wrong with not knowing what necessarily is out there, but there is with not believing that there is. So that's something that we constantly were working with. It's not solved yet, but it will be. What?
Baby boomers.
Break it open.
Should we do the unicorn? I feel like that bastard needs to go.
You should kill that guy. Yeah. Down with.
You volunteer? Come on, somebody's got some angst. Let's see it.
Bill's always so friendly and nice. Bill, this is your intro.
Watch me blow my mic right up.
You could also like just kill legacy from there.
Can I name this for people
Yes.
I've known in the past?
Not out loud.
Is this, I don't want to beat him on the floor. This is really fun.
Nobody tweet that either.
All right, here we go. Ready? Ready? Give me a countdown. 1, 2, 3. There you go.
Here you go. We're getting him.
This is a tough unicorn.
I think
Casey at the bat. Here we go. One more time.
we would hold it for you, but
That's a badass unicorn, guys. There you go. Now you know how hard it is to change.
we got to pre-break the
culture.
pinatas. Now we know. This was
Now we do.
agile.
Okay, so might have to go Georgie Animal Steel on his ass. Here we go. There we go. All right, there we go. All right, woohoo!
Awesome.
So this is, yeah. Some
I don't
fool
know
has
how
to
we'll-
talk
yeah.
among all this stuff next. All right.
Cindy,
going
how do we
again?
give
How do we-
everybody the candy? Yeah, keep going.
All right, here we go. And this fancy thing. Yeah, this is like,
I've seen
should we
you
throw
dodge.
it? Let's go, the
Here,
whole
I'll
thing?
pick it up and
Let's
throw
see.
it.
We can do that.
Yeah.
Let's see. I don't trust this anymore because this
I
isn't
didn't
quite
think
a-
it all out to the end, but
Yeah,
that's
well,
why you have operational
we're
people on your
experimenting.
team.
Here we
Right?
go. Ready? Pow. This one's a
That
little
works.
more. Woohoo!
These might
Okay,
be
who
too
wants
sweet.
this? I don't want to put an
All
eye
right,
out.
nobody's getting the Reese's yet.
I don't want to
'cause
go
those are-
like all Christmas story on you, but there was a special request, so I'll get a shot. Whoops,
Oh, nice.
whoops. Sorry, special request. Yeah. There you go. The Agile team helping one another. I love it.
Awesome. Now
And
that
then
we've
finally,
filled
this
it up,
guy, he's going to take a bite out of me if I
I
have
feel
a-
like that guy,
Let's leave him. He can be our
he
mascot.
could come to the reception.
Here we go.
Awesome.
Whoever gets drunk.
Thank you guys for tolerating that.
Molly,